Haha! Hello there! Wonderful day, isn't it? Oh, it is fan-fucking-tastic! Look at this! Helpful tips on picking your first resort to do a season at. Huh, written by Mitchell O'Connor. Sounds like a good bloke. Alright, without further ado, let's jump into my tips on helping you pick your first resort to do a season at. Probably shouldn't have thrown that. Tip number one, know your riding style. If you're someone who's more into, big mountain riding, more challenging terrain, a lot of tree riding, etc., and you avoid the park at all costs, make sure you pick a mountain that offers that type of terrain really well. Or vice versa, if you're someone who really enjoys riding rails and smashing boxes, go to a resort that is heavily park orientated. And if you don't know what your riding style is, don't worry. My best advice for you is to pick a resort that offers both really, really well. There's plenty of resorts out there that offer great big mountain riding and also great terrain parks. So tip number one, know your riding style. Tip number two, living on the mountain or having to commute to the mountain. For me, this was a no-brainer. I didn't move 14 hours to the other side of the world to have to commute to a mountain still. Obviously, both lifestyles of living on a mountain or off the mountain have their pros and cons. Living on a mountain, you obviously get the pro of having ski in, ski out. Personally, from the last 2 seasons, it's the best thing in the world. The con to living on the mountain is you get very, very few choices for groceries and non-ski related lifestyle needs. So you will have to commute to a town, usually on a 2-week basis, or if you're great, you can make it a month, to go get, groceries and whatnot, because obviously stuff on the hill is quite expensive. But then, living in a resort where you aren't on the mountain, you do have all those other lifestyle needs at your fingertips, but then the downside is you have to commute to the resort. It's something that really comes down to personal choice and what you want, but from my experiences, being able to strap in at your door and ride to a chairlift is unfucking beatable. But yeah, so that's tip number 2 is figure out whether or not you want to live on the hill or off the hill. Tip number 3, once you've knocked out the first 2 tips, this third tip it's going to be difficult no matter where you choose to live, which is going to be housing. If you obviously go to a more popular resort, there's going to be a higher number of people wanting to live there, so housing will be a bit more difficult to find and most likely more expensive. On the flip side, going to a less popular resort, you still might find the same problems, but it will be easier. And you will more likely find accommodation that is a lot more affordable, and you might have the luxuries of actually getting a room to yourself instead of sharing a room with 1 to 4 other people. In most cases though, a less popular resort will obviously have cheaper accommodation for their staff, as they're trying to use that as a pulling power to get people to come in. In saying that, a less popular resort is probably going to have a worse mountain vibe and worse terrain. It's something you really, really need to weigh up when choosing your resort, is the price effectiveness of how much you're willing to pay, the living standards, and for the terrain you're getting. It's something that really, really comes down to personal choice. Tip number 4. Whoa, the energy has gotten bigger in here because we're talking about nightlife! Alright, now it's no secret that the party life is heavily connected to the snow life, and they sort of just go hand in hand. So if you're someone who really loves to get out there and just get absolutely fucking off your fucking tits, you want to go to a resort that has a larger village, because there's going to be more pubs and clubs, and you're going to be able to get fucking uns every fucking night of the week. Haha! Now, on the flip side, if you're not someone who likes to go out, a smaller resort with a smaller village and fewer amount of pubs and clubs might be more up your alley, because, well, you don't want to go out. All things aside though, this all comes down to self-control. It's as easy as flicking the switch and going full send, or pumping the brakes and not going out. So it doesn't really matter how big the resort is, it comes down to you as a person. How big is your self-control? My last tip for this video, and I'm so thankful that I'm finally at this. You have no idea how long this video has taken me to make, because my brain just doesn't want to work today. But my last tip is going to be temperature. And now you're thinking to yourself, whoa, yeah, temperature, Mitchell, yeah, it's going to be fucking cold. That is true. But there's definitely a large amount of coldness you can experience here. You do not need to be at a resort that sits on an average of -25 the whole season to have a good time. Some resorts will sit in minus temperatures for weeks and weeks on end, and I'm talking dramatically cold, like 25 and further to like 40. You don't really need that. Every resort will have an average of what their temperature will be throughout the season. I really think that you should look into that, especially for your first season. You don't want to be somewhere where they can have a cold snap. Well, no, every resort can get cold snaps, I guess, but we're at a resort that has You don't want to be at a resort where the chances of it being colder for longer are going to be, because it's just not enjoyable. And there's nothing worse than Mother Nature providing greatness and it's fucking like -30. So yeah, have a look at the average temperatures for the resort. Alright guys, this has been one of the more painful videos I've ever made before, because my brain just doesn't want to fucking work today, and I've literally shot this so many times. I've even written a script and I still suck. But these are my tips for you guys in choosing the perfect resort for you. Go out there, fucking go see the world, go snowboarding, go skiing, enjoy. Make sure you like this video, share it to someone if they're about to embark on their first snow season. But yeah, did I say go pat puppies yet? I think I did.
No, you didn't.
Make sure you go fucking pat some good looking puppies, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.